Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. Today we're going to be watching a video on fractions, decimals, and percents. Make sure that you go to the most recent math notes page. I am on a different page with each class, so we can just skip a couple pages and make it page 25 if you want, but I really don't care as long as you are writing your math notes down. So I'm just using page 25 as a general example. And I think there's like a red line somewhere on the side. That's a terrible line. Let me undo that. All right, so the title of this math notes is the actual title that you see on YouTube. So make sure that's written on your index and also on the title of the page that you are on, which is Math Notes, Fractions, Decimals, and Percents. Now, the little noise that this makes, my Apple Pencil, when I'm writing, drives me crazy. So I can just imagine how it's going to drive all of you crazy. So I'm going to write things, pause, and then I'm going to speak about it a little bit. All right, so here's your example. When you convert a fraction into a decimal, this is what you have to do. To convert a fraction to a decimal, you divide the numerator by the denominator. So your example is 1/4. You're dividing the numerator, which in this case it's 1, by the denominator, which is 4. And then you just get a decimal, which is the whole goal, because you're trying to convert a fraction into a decimal. And you should get 0.25. So 1/4 converted into a decimal is 0.25 or 25 hundredths. Okay? Go ahead and pause the video and make sure you write all this down into your math notes. The next thing we're looking at is converting a decimal into a fraction. All right, so to convert a decimal into a fraction, let me just restart the reading. To convert a decimal into a fraction, write it like you read it, or say it. Then simplify if needed. So this right here, we usually say like 0.7. Well, that's not what I'm saying. This means 7/10. So instead of saying 0.7, the proper mathematical way to say this is 7/10. So if you have 0.5, that'd be 5/10. If you have 0.9, it's 9/10. All right, so another way that I ask this is what place value is the 7 in tens? So this one is 7/10, or 7/10. Another example is 4.28. Remember, the 8 is in the hundreds place, so the way you pronunciate this is 4 and 28 hundredths. So that's where I have this 4 whole number, 28/100. I'm going to reduce the fraction in this whole number, or in this mixed number, I'm going to reduce this fraction by dividing by 2. Now, you can also divide by 4, but I wanted to break it down a little bit. So divide by 2, both of them by 2, you get 14/50. And then you can reduce this one more time, or reduce again by dividing both by 2 again. 2 goes into 14 7 times, and 2 goes into 50 25 times. But remember to keep your 4 whole, your 4 wholes. So this is 4 7/25. And remember, this is from 4.28. That's equivalent to this mixed number. Okay, so the next thing is going to be converting a decimal into a percent. So converting a decimal to a percent. And again, I'm going to pause the video, write it, and then I'll explain it. So converting a decimal into a percent. To convert a decimal to a percent, move the decimal point 2 places to the right and add a percent sign at the end of it. So for example, we have 2.36. That converts to, let's shift the decimal point 2 places to the right, 236%. 0.03 or 3 hundredths. You shift that decimal point 2 places to the right, and then you have 0.003%, which it doesn't make sense to write 2 zeros, so 3%. The next one is converting a percent into a decimal, and the last one will be converting a percent into a fraction. All right, so to convert a percent into a decimal, move the decimal point 2 places to the left, and remove the percent sign. So our example here is 32%. We're just going to get a decimal place to the right of it and shift it 2 places to the left and drop that percent sign. So we are left with 0.32. 100% is also converted by moving the decimal place 2 places to the left. Oops, supposed to use a marker. And that leaves us with 1.00 as we drop the percent symbol. The next one is converting a percent into a fraction. So turning a percent into a fraction involves a little bit more work. It makes you apply all 3 of the conversions. So it says to convert a percent into a fraction, first convert to a decimal, and then convert the decimal to a fraction. So the very first step is to convert it into a decimal first. Then after you have a decimal, you can convert it into a fraction. So let's say you have 32%. Well, we're going to turn it into a decimal first and then drop the percent sign to get us 0.32 or 32 hundredths. Then we think to ourselves it's in the hundredths place or 32 hundredths. And then you put it over 100, 32 over 100. Now, with this one, I forgot to reduce. So we're going to actually reduce this. I can divide both of those by 2. 2 enters 32 16 times. 2 goes into 150 times. Now, I can also divide that by 2 one more time. 2 goes into 16 8 times. 2 goes into 5 25 times. Now, I think that's as much as I can reduce it. Nope, I know that that's as much as I can go. So 32% converts to 8/25 when I'm trying to get a fraction. Now, I think I had said that this was the last one, but we do have one more. It's not too long, so bear with me. Go ahead and pause the video and make sure you write down everything that I just had previously before moving on. All right, I want to work this example out with you. I just don't want to give you the answer. So, converting a fraction to a percent. To convert a fraction to a percent, you have to turn it into a decimal first. So, convert it into a decimal. Then convert the decimal to a percent, because obviously our end goal is to get a percent. So, our example here is 3/8. Please put your pens and your pencils down. I just want you guys to really hear me out and see this for yourself. So, I want to first convert this into a decimal. The very first thing I taught you is how to convert a fraction into a decimal. This little bar represents division. So I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So the top number always goes inside of the divisor, and the numerator always goes outside. So 3 and 8. 8 does not fit evenly into 3, so I have to start the decimal process, which is what we want. We want our decimal. 8 goes into 30 3 times. Because if I count by 8, it's 8, 16, 24, and then 32. But that's too many times. So 8 times 3 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 60. Well, 8 times 8 is 64. That's too much. So it must be 8 times 7, and 8 times 7 is 56. I take away 60 from 56, and I get 4. Let's just do one more decimal. 8 enters 45 times. So I have 0.375 or 375 thousandths. Okay, 375 thousandths. So now I have 0.375. I'm going to convert that into a percent by shifting the decimal 2 places to the right. 1, 2. And then I'm going to put a percent symbol. So this turns into 37.5%. And you can have a decimal with percentages. You can. You just have to make sure that you follow your steps correctly. All right, now you can pause the video and finish writing your notes. This is the last part. There are more notes, but I don't want to make you guys do this the entire period. After you watch these notes, I want you working on your multiplication charts. I want you to do 2 total. So if you get a page and it has front and back, that counts as 2 multiplication charts. I don't want you having 2 pages with 2 multiplication charts on each page, because that's 4 multiplication charts. Now, some of the multiplication charts, they copied backwards on the back, and you only see like 1 through 12 on one row or column, and then 1 through 15. If you got one of those, that still counts as a multiplication chart. Don't worry. As always, I fight with the copier, and the copier always wins. So we're just going to do 0 through 12 on some of those multiplication charts. Remember your social skills. Make me proud. Have a nice weekend. Stay safe, and I will see you on Monday.